We'll call the council meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, take the roll.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Wakefield. Here. Knutson. Here. Kennedy.
Here.
Brooke.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
All right, next up, comments and suggestions from citizens present. This is your opportunity, if you're here in the audience, to weigh in on any issue that's before the city, except issues that are on tonight's agenda. If you do have a comment, please come to the podium, identify yourself, state your name and address. Try to keep your comments brief and try not to repeat other people's comments. So, does anybody have a comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have presentations. The American Public Works Association 2024 Project of the Year, Small Cities, Rural Communities. Kip.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Kip Peters, Utility Director. Tonight we've, part of the wastewater treatment plant project that we started back in 2020. Then the pandemic hit and we actually ended up finishing that up in 2023. With that project, it has been recognized by two different organizations for the work that was done on that project. And with me tonight are Jeremiah Wendt and Caleb Weber from SEH. And I'm just going to kind of turn it over to them. They know a little more detail about what these awards are about and things like that. So I guess with that, I'll just turn it over to them.
Good evening. My name's Caleb. Was part of the construction project at the plant. The American Council of Engineering Companies and American Public Works Association are both national organizations, but they have Wisconsin chapters, and that's where both these awards come from. Maybe we're the only two people here where wastewater is our favorite utility. I think that these awards are a testament to all the work that Kip and the Utility Commission and Joe, the lead operator, and his staff, and you, City Council, have done to invest in what is ultimately a very essential utility and infrastructure. So I think in consideration for both awards, the committees probably would have seen aerial photographs and just been amazed at how much wastewater plant is in such a small footprint and all the operational and construction challenges associated with that. So I think it's something you guys can be proud of, and congratulations.
I would just add, I think as Caleb and I were revisiting the awards that were handed out at both of these, through both of these programs this year, Hudson was the only municipal wastewater project that got an award. So, it's as Caleb kind of joked about, it's one of those things that nobody really thinks about. It's not anybody's favorite project, but there's some unique challenges presented here, and I think that's, it's recognition to the city for being able to continue to utilize this site over the last 70 plus years and continue to meet the needs of a city that looks a lot different than it did when this site was selected back in the 50s. So yeah, absolutely kudos to the city.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Consent agenda.
Approve the meeting minutes from the August 19, 2024 regular council meeting. Approve claims in the amount of $620,921.17. Mayoral appointments of Tim Hall to the Urban Forestry Board.
Would you pull that, please, so I can recuse myself?
Mayoral appointment of Paul Malika to the Board of Appeals. Adopt final resolution 2024 authorizing special assessments for the 2024 Vine Street reconstruction. Adopt final resolution 1824 authorizing special assessments for the 2024 downtown sidewalk replacement. Adopt final resolution 1924 authorizing special assessments for the 2024 alley reconstruction.
Can you pull that so I can recuse myself from that one?
And adopt final resolution 2021 authorizing special assessments for the 2024 Green Street reconstruction.
Should I remove myself from that one? Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items C and G. Roll call?
Morissette?
Yes.
Wakefield? Yes. Knutson?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Ruck?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
All right, item C, mayoral appointment of Tim Hall to the Urban Forestry Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Item G, adopt final resolution 19-24 authorizing special assessments for the 2024 alley reconstruction.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Unfinished business, ordinance 7-24 for possible amendments to chapters 14-4 Board of Appeals, section 2, or I presume that's section 255-90, creation, organization, powers and duties, and section 255-991, variances.
Okay, and you know what? Can I jump in on this discussion when we're ready?
Yeah? When?
Well, whenever, to explain. So there's a couple changes that Alder Knutson felt should have been part of the original draft. I think it was part of the original draft, yes. And there are minor changes that staff thought would be easy to adapt and add into. So we had our planner, Tiffany, go through, make the minor changes. There's 4 of them. I'd like to present those as part of potential adoption today. And then Joey can explain further after I get done kind of detailing out.
Could I clarify or ask for a mutual understanding that there were several motions and then motions were withdrawn at the last meeting. And then Councilmember Joyce Hall, made a motion in the affirmative for a first reading of the document that I brought forward. My document was posted in the agenda. If you recall, we had that discussion about what was available to the public. So we did vote unanimously to adopt that as the first reading. So my concern tonight is, it seems a little confusing because what came out in the agenda tonight for this week was not mine whole cloth. You know, we did not make any changes. We have talked about different changes, and I certainly never expected the whole ordinance to be adopted every item specifically. So I did want to clarify that really, I think at this point, we have had a first reading on the ordinance that I brought forward, and I certainly think it's fair to have the discussions of the other input from council members and from staff, from our city attorney. So that was where our city administrator and I sat down today to discuss some of those points that, again, I feel because we did have that vote last time, that my document should stand until we amend it, because we did take a first reading on the ordinance that I brought forward. And again, we can make changes today if I understand Robert's Rules of Order properly.
And staff was looking through and with Nick's help, taking comments that were received during that initial meeting, and we were working through the document as it went along. So Nick kind of took the comments from the initial swipe, and then we looked at it staff-wise. Mike's crew looked at it and thought that that was, I guess, what was intended by where we were to where we're going. I don't know if that's an easy way to explain it. But what I presented here today, we said at the very last meeting we'd bring back a cleaned copy, all right? And that's in your agenda. But what I've handed out to you is an amended clean copy to, you can see the red line version that I handed out as well. Yep, oh, hand those that way. I handed them this way already. I apologize for that. You were in the middle of talking and I didn't want to disturb you on the way through. So take a clean copy and then take an amended copy. So in your packet today, you do have a separate clean copy and a separate amended copy. So put those aside. Don't look at your packet. They're very similar. There's only 4 changes that I believe I talked with Joy about and that we're proposing to make today, and Joy would like to see in these today, okay?
And you'll point
In,
those out right now.
in the packet to be approved potentially today, okay? Depending upon if you're comfortable with where we're at. Okay, so there are 4 changes, and then you will see those changes made to the clean copy here. First change is under the title 20, or section 255-90, parent A, parent 1, vacancies. The idea to unexpired terms, it reads, vacancy shall be filled for the unexpired terms of members and alternatives. The "and alternatives" was requested of Joy to add in.
Alternates.
And alternates, thank you, not alternatives. Reading right past myself. And alternatives whose terms become vacant. So making sure that we're both filling members and vacants and alternates makes sense. It's just a simple word change there. The next one's a little tougher to follow, but you'll see in parent 3.
Brian, can I ask just a
Yep.
question so that I understand what you're
Yep.
working through? So the red line that you passed out and the clean that you passed out
Yep.
includes that,
Includes that.
language.
Yes, so if you turn to page, what page is this on the list?
Page 2.
Yep. Vacancies, thank you. Page 2, you will see at the top, under vacancies, it says members and alternatives. Alternates, excuse me, alternatives. Alternates, thank you. I'll get it right by the time we're done, I'm sure. So members and alternates. So that includes that language now on this cleaned copy. Okay. This next one was a little tricky because I had staff make these changes, and then there's a slight change to the change. So you'll see at the end of parent 3, under this lighting, and if you're colorblind, you're in trouble. It goes from the pinkish hue to the red hue, and the red hue is stricken, and at the end you would see the last sentence of parent 3, if you go over to page 2 of the clean copy, right? It would read, the last sentence would read, if a member is not able to avoid ex parte communication, the member shall disclose such communication, and everybody write this down. The add-on would be such communication, write it on the cleaned copy, to the board. So who are they disclosing the communication to? They're disclosing it to the board. In this case, it would be the Board of Appeals, to the board, and be part of the record, period. Okay? So that's how that sentence would end, and parent 3 would end. So it's very clear now that if you have ex parte communication, who do you report it to? Before it was to the board chair, and it really, in my opinion, it really should, and maybe Nick has a different opinion on it, and he might explain it, but my opinion is it should be disclosed. It should be disclosed to the entire board if you had such communication. That's the way I've seen it in the past, or past Board of Appeals that I've been part of. That's the way I would prefer to see it here as well. So when ex parte communication comes along, and sometimes it's not even, obviously it's ex parte, but it may not be your fault. You might have stumbled across it, right? Where they call you and they show up at your door trying to explain something to you. You should make that known to the rest of the board that happened.
And
Or-
leaving in as soon as practical?
Well, it would be, the soonest practical is whenever that board meets,
Okay.
right? So when that board meets and you're meeting on a topic, that's when you disclose it, yes. So that's the second change. The third change happens to be in paragraph 4, to training. Okay? It says encouraged, changing the word encouraged to required. So the members and alternate members of the Board of Appeals shall be required to annually complete at least 2 hours of training in the roles. Not encouraged, but required. This is a very unique board. They really should have that training on zoning board of appeals. As we found out, out of all your boards, probably zoning board of appeals where your lawsuits are going to come from. So that's really important to keep up with your training. So that piece, and then there's one final change that we had talked about. So this one is all the way.
Well, if I could stop and point
Yep.
out that for practical purposes, I am accepting the change that I had said the board shall retain an independent legal counsel, and I am accepting the change amendment, if you will, that said the board may retain independent legal counsel. I do want things to be handled in a prompt manner, and I don't want to bind the Board of Appeals to make it difficult for them to do their work.
Yep, and it probably is worth more discussion in the future as well.
Sure.
Yep.
But anyway, so I did want to point
Yes.
that one out, that I am not asking to reverse that.
Yep. That's a good point. Yep. All right. So under, where does this even go? Under uniqueness of property in parent H, on the second to last page of your red line copy. Okay? And on page 6 of the cleaned version. We are looking to eliminate the word, or the sentence that begins, property limitations that prevent ordinance compliance and are common to a number of properties should be addressed by amending the ordinance. I believe that's more of a suggestion and shouldn't be part of an ordinance. So same as below, we took out to grant such relief, unfair to owners. That's an opinion, again, not really part of an ordinance. If there is any changes, yes, those are going to be brought immediately to the staff's attention that we need an amendment to our ordinance and therefore really should not be part of your overall Board of Adjustment ordinance. So taking that out, you would be left with the paragraph without that, which would be more matter of fact on unnecessary hardship and uniqueness of property. Okay, those are the 4 changes that Joy and I had discussed today, which do make sense to staff as well.
May I ask, who decides require versus may? If they may seek independent counsel, is that at their decision, or is that something, because that would be an additional financial?
Yeah, it could come out in a number of different ways, right? The end decision is with the council here to approve the hiring of additional staff. So your Board of Adjustment may so currently you have your city attorney, whoever that might be, if it's Nick or if it's somebody from his law firm or somebody else, right, down the line. That person's there with the Board of Appeals. Now, anytime that there's stresses that become separated, maybe this council has a different feeling of where something is going than the Board of Appeals, that's one point where the Board of Appeals may require or request somebody different, or possibly this council may say, hey, we don't agree with the Board of Appeals decision. Believe it or not, councils have sued Board of Appeals within their own jurisdiction. So if that were to occur, obviously, end decision is here, but the request could come from the Board of Appeals.
But according to state law, they do have the right. The state
They do.
statute does provide for them to hire and retain the staff that they feel needed. And I mean, while we are a small town, we have the potential for lots of really great development projects that would be infill projects in our downtown, especially in other parts of the city. And that is part of our growth that we want to see. I want to see. I certainly want to encourage it.
Yep.
But I do think that is one of my concerns, is how well the board doesn't meet that often. How would they determine? But again, for right now, for practicality's sakes, I'm willing to accept the other wording and not require that they have a different attorney. I think I'm comfortable with the compromise. I certainly welcome all of your input. Thank you for listening to me all these months.
Let me add 2 things just in the drafting. It's not just the board may retain. You have to, look at the added language, which is subject to any policies adopted by the Common Council for pre-approval based upon council budgetary considerations. So the board doesn't have its own budget, for example. right? And so the council, if the board desires to have independent counsel, which there are certainly times where it should, and there are times where we will make recommendations that based on council determination where the council is at, that the board should have its own attorney, right? Because they're just dealing with variances, and we're dealing with development approval, TIF dollars, other design approvals and the like. We may not want to play in that process at all, and you may not want the city to have any connectivity to what's going on at the Board of Appeals. So it's really going to be subject to whatever the parameters are that this council sets up for that board to make a request for counsel.
Well, and on that point, you're absolutely right. The Plan Commission is hoping to bring in businesses. How can we facilitate things? It's part of hopefully our planned growth in Hudson. And they're sort of problem solving. That's their role. How can we help? Oh, you've got to change this or the signage or the paint color for downtown. Those issues are all part of it. The Board of Appeals' job is to protect our zoning code, is to be the firewall, the stop, to say, you know, over decades, the city of Hudson has said this is what they want. And so it's up to council, it's up to us to change the zoning code if we really think we should go a different direction. So that's my opinion on that.
Yep.
And I also do think, I mean, unless Mr. Vivian is providing a package rate where he doesn't charge us for being at the Board of Appeals meeting, I think we do pay an attorney already. So we would be hiring a different person, but not paying him for that particular service if we did insert someone. So I don't see it as a huge budget change, personally.
And it could be part of a budgetary discussion in the future if you want to add 20 or 30,000 to a Board of Appeals budget.
Have it flexible for that. So anyway, thank
Yep.
you.
And there are also times, like we have a pending appeal right now of the crew car wash certificate of compliance denial. You know, that one, you know, here we sit, that went through the Plan Commission, it came to the council. It's, the Board of Appeals is your hearing body. It's not necessarily on a zoning related matter, it's on a permit approval. You know, it's one where the Board of Appeals needs the information, it needs the standard, and then it gets to make a determination as to whether it should overturn the council's decision or whether it should support the council's decision. So you have those that are, you know, relatively straightforward, that it just needs the information, as opposed to the one that we've been through downtown that had nights of hearings and legal standards and decisions and whatnot. So it just, the goal was to provide some flexibility, and if the council wants to adopt policies down the road as to how the Board of Appeals interacts with council, you know, certainly it's free to do so.
So those are the staff recommended changes. I think staff's hoping to get it off our group.
I move to approve second reading.
I'll second.
All right, so just a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the
Changes that we just
amended with
went
those four
through.
changes.
And if that's allowed, again, that was part of my question today. Since, you know, we voted first reading on the document that I brought, and now we're accepting
We're
these
accepting
changes or
this, but it's
amendments.
not-
This is this one, right?
Yep, so,
Yep.
so motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. All right, new business, block party on Pitt Street. Starts right after the council meeting. Chief?
Hi, good evening. Yeah, not the normal venue for one of these requests, but it was a late request, so we had to kind of get it in under the gun here. So an individual from the 10th Street neighborhood had reached out to a couple of council members asking for permission to have a block party for one of their 90-year-old neighbors. It's a 4-hour span of time on a Saturday afternoon. I believe it's Saturday the 14th.
Correct.
It's Pitt Street between 10th and 11th, it's very low traffic volumes. Public Works has a good plan. we don't see any issues with it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief. I don't have anything. Anybody?
Move to adjourn. And I'll second it.
Got a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned.